welcome. Thank you for having us. We first want to start by saying thank you for your generous donation to Sherwood Forest. Every single penny that is given is used, literally down to the penny. We are camp folks, so we know how to stretch the dollar, so thank you very much. That is super helpful. We are going to share with you about Sherwood Forest, and really just Emily and I could really speak until we're blue in the face about Sherwood, and so could Kathy. So let us, if you have any questions, we are really also informal, so just ask a question, don't need to raise your hand or anything, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe you want to just let them know what these things mean?
Oh, yes, yeah. So, the camp director and program manager. So I am the camp director during the summer. So we are a year-round youth development agency that is anchored in a residential summer camp, and we call our summer camp Quest because all of our campers are really on a quest and journey in some ways or in a lot of ways. And so when you see Quest, that is what I am.
Yeah, and Alexis's program and mine kind of blend as they age out of being campers, which is kind of in 8th and 9th grade, and then they're able to join Supports for Success, which starts in 10th grade, and like Jill mentioned, can continue on. And although our programming says that we kind of might complete 5 or 6 years post high school, we have, I feel like, generations of people that are still part of kind of the Sherwood scene, so that's kind of an ongoing thing.
Yeah. Next slide, please. All right, so this is our mission. I won't read it word for word because who likes to do that when you can read it there too? But we are very committed to the youth in our communities and the youth in our region as well. And so this is why we were established in 1937, really just to help expose and provide access and opportunities to those that may not have a voice, that are from under-resourced or underserved communities. And you'll hear Emily talk about where our programs blend and where Supports for Success comes in, and that is where I think one of our crown jewels of Sherwood Forest is really sticking with all of our campers. We do say that we want our relationships with our campers and families to be like an inch wide and a mile, like miles deep. And that is really our goal, is to stick with our families and campers and just meet them where they are and care for them along the way. All right, so our year-round, like I said, we're year-round, and so our program's Quest, that is our summer camp. We are divided by age, and so our mini campers, the cutest campers that you will ever see, honestly, they're 1st and 2nd grade. All of them, it is their first time away from home, and a lot of them the first time at a camp experience, and so they're wide-eyed, all of like the fun things. Explorer camp, 3rd through 5th grade, and then leadership is where we have our leadership program where they start to go on multi-day trips, and we really start to incorporate them into helping out with like the day-to-day of camp. We want our campers to know there are a lot of different positions at camp, so camp counselor, there are different like art directors and things like that, but that's not the only way to help make camp make it successful and run. So we really start to incorporate them. And then we do this cute buddy program, so like leadership campers will pair up with a mini camper, and then they will have like an activity period together, and those leadership campers are like, oh my gosh, these young kids are so much, they run, they're loud, and we're like, yes, that is what we deal with all the time. These are kids, like, yes, so it's also a good eye-opening experience for them.
I would mention the last couple of years of their leadership program, 8th and 9th, we actually try and help them start transferring some of the skills that they learn at camp together, working in these cohorts, and send them out into the community from camp. So they'll do, car camping kind of trips, but they'll go to Memphis or something and visit colleges along the way. We send them to Memphis, the 9th graders, to visit the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Motel there. And just try and get them to, again, start practicing how they want to present themselves and represent themselves and Sherwood and their families and everyone out in the world as a group. So I think that's kind of a special way for them to start practicing more, those good skills that will continue, but they need to be able to practice them outside of camp too.
Yeah. All right, so this is just like an overview of mini campers and like what they go through in a day. I know there's some small text, but like a typical day, camp life starts early because we rise not with the sun, but camp life does start early. But they have activity periods. We do encourage throughout the day, you'll see like the cabin cleanup.
It's coming through the.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it is.
I thought that was one of like a
Yeah.
car alarm. Wow. Yeah.
Your time's up.
Yeah. We start with them in terms of why we do it by grade levels, because we really want all of these grades to have like a scaffolding of skills. So with mini campers, they will experience a night under the stars where they get to sleep out in one of our barn fields. Sherwood is located in Lesterville, Missouri, so we are really in beautiful southeast Missouri. And so there is no light pollution, there's no sound pollution, so the stars are some of the most beautiful things that you will ever see out there. So we want them to get used to having like group dynamics and working together, and even if that's pitching a tent, even if that's making s'mores, which is a camp delicacy. I would invite everyone to try that over an open fire. But you also see cabin cleanup on the schedule. So it is a shared space, and so we want everyone to know, what does a shared space mean? You all talked about like as an ethical society, it's like what are the human ways? And so a lot of that is sharing the space and realizing what we can do for each other, and that can also be picking up after yourself. That can also be like helping someone else in this space together. So we really start with that as well. And this is our Explorer program. I was looking to see if my child was on this slide. But like we said, it's designed for 3rd through 5th graders. And 3rd grade is really about curiosity and imagination. So a lot of their activities, we want them to be curious about the natural world around them. Our property, we have just over 500 acres of woodland areas, and so we have this beautiful space for them to really start to learn and appreciate nature and appreciate why all these little things, even the spiders and the creatures and critters, fit together and why we need them. And then just appreciate the beauty, like our lake that we have there, that we teach kids how to canoe and how to safely canoe. You'll see on the screen, 4th grade, really we start to dive into the natural environment. They have an earth club. So we really want to help build a affinity for nature, but we want to do it, like Emily has said as well, in a trauma-informed way. So not just like throwing kids out into the wild and like try to make it on your own. You've all maybe seen Naked and Afraid. That is not what happens at camp. So like even when they go on an overnight, what we have started to do with one of our colleagues is hike kids out to the overnight space before, so then it can really break down some of those nerves. They can see where they're going to go, they can visualize what they're going to do, and that really makes it an easier transition, hopefully, as well. And 5th grade, they really start to develop some of that independence because they're gearing up for that leadership program that Emily was talking about. And so we do the year-round programming with them as well. And of course we have archery, and then this picture on the left is Charlie. She's been with us since she has been in 1st grade, and she's now in 5th grade, and that backpack on her back is probably the same size as her. So, yeah. All right, next slide please. So we divide them up into 2 sessions, and so we will start talking about the leadership training and what that means for us.
Yeah, so we're actually getting, again, we're rooted in year-round programming because, like you saw, all of our kids kind of come from the metro, like greater St. Louis region, and so we try and kind of just give them touch points throughout the year. Like even in a couple of weeks, our 6th through 9th graders will be coming down for a weekend at camp that we've historically called Trash Bash, and it's just a way to help us it gives them again some responsibility to help close down camp and clean up and just make sure that there's understanding that like all these things camp just doesn't magically happen without many hands making for lighter work for each other. So that's kind of what we're trying to help them learn in those, I feel like, last 4 years. And like Alexis mentioned, that's when they start going maybe out on more like multi-day excursions, either more hiking on the river, or like I was mentioning, kind of even heading out of the region and out of the state. So
Next slide, please. Thank you.
and then as they graduate, so they can start in Supports for Success in 10th grade, and this is just really the purpose. Again, we're more interested in making sure kids have social emotional skills to navigate the world that we live in, and so we try and kind of bake that into all of our programming through doing fun stuff that's wanting to engage their curiosity, understanding how much they need to focus on figuring out their own level of self-awareness so that they can figure out how others, knowing yourself, then you can go out and actually understand more about how you're interdependent on your community. And so what we do is, again, I can just give a great example. Well, first of all, I mentioned the deal. After this, we're meeting up with a group of 10th through 12th graders to try our hand at stand-up paddleboarding for the first time in Forest Forest. Yeah. And we are partnering with a gentleman it's called River City Outdoors, and he's able to help us access the kayaks and paddleboards and all of that at Forest Park and the boathouse for free through his partnership with Big Money Adventures, which I'm not sure if anyone's aware, but they do a lot of kayaking and taking kids out on the river, even like on the Mississippi, and just getting people that live closer into city limits that don't have the same kind of access to green space and just being and doing outdoor activities. So we're gonna go. That's kind of our thing, is we want to make sure our teenagers know that there's all kinds of like cool jobs that are out there and more non-traditional areas that are still connecting them with the outdoors. And so we're gonna see how it goes this afternoon with some paddleboarding, and hopefully it'll inspire us to maybe even have that down at camp on the lake soon enough. But we, with Supports for Success, it has been traditional for a lot of that age group, 10th grade heading into post-secondary world, to be very highly focused on just college persistence, and we give them opportunities to go to college, like I said, college visits, fill out the FAFSA, all the nitty-gritty stuff. We are happy to do that with them, but we really want to focus this program. The outcomes are more about how we want our young adults to feel as they head into the world when they're 18 to 25, and just feeling like they have a good idea of how to make little action plans and steps and goals, and how you can be flexible and adaptable with those, and you can tweak that as you learn more about yourself and the world. So we just try and help them practice with all of that.
Do you have anything for adults that didn't get taught this stuff?
Yeah.
I know. That's the whole thing. It's like
We didn't either.
Yeah, we get to do it through our jobs. I feel like I have honestly a really great, like one of the best jobs, just as far as it's kind of like occupational therapy, but without us talking about it being occupational therapy. And so, but yeah, it is more about, we like the hard skills, the nitty gritty, but it's really more about them understanding, again, I'm going back to scaffolding, that they understand that they've got this network of people that they've probably either met at Sherwood or through Sherwood that they can reach out to. So it's about helping them identify non-parental supports, outside of maybe just their nuclear family, of people that have their back in life. Because again, it's like, those are things you need to navigate this world as an adult, as a human.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of what we are focusing on with 10th grade. We used to say 10th grade through, post-secondary education, but we kind of want to say, we're saying like about 5 years after high school, we're hoping that most of our kids in our program feel like they're in a good position in life to be like, I got this, and then they can just check in as needed. So that's Supports for Success. And it's really cool. A lot of them also, underneath this is our counselor and training program. And so they can start coming back as seasonal staff members at Sherwood, which is just the coolest to see some of, and now Alexis is also a former camper, and she's now the camp director. So it's really cool to watch them grow up and become kind of inspiring role models for the younger kids. It's very special.
So this is like an overview of our first day of camp. Well, you know, they come in on these nice fancy buses. That is not something that I got when I was a camper, or that Kathy got either.
Yeah, they have bathrooms
They have
on
bathrooms and all
them.
these things. So, but yeah, they come in. We have staff. Like we are super jazzed to see them, of course. And then they get a tour of camp. We of course have the open campfire. And if you ever come to camp, just know that you will be singing, and you may be asked to wear like a tutu or some type of costume. That is just what we do to like have. We want camp to be a safe and fun space for everyone to feel like they can be themselves. If they want to sing out loud, that's what they will do, and we will encourage that as well. We have 4 different villages. And that is, oh, there's a picture of my daughter's cabin down there too. Like the first full day, they get to do a swim test. So we do have a pool that is there, which is a lot of campers' favorites. Who doesn't love a good pool in the Missouri summer, which you all know is very hot. And they get to learn some of those, like we said, those scaffolding skills, because we know they're going to get to go outside of camp. So build like initiative games, like how does that group dynamic work? How do we share in this space together? The low ropes course, you know, fire building and shelter building. I often accredit Sherwood probably all the time. I just had a tailgate the other day and built a fire with just sticks and 1 matches. And those are things that I have learned through the years of Sherwood as well. I also know how to use and read a map without a GPS. Also things that kids can learn at Sherwood, right? I'm trying to tell my daughter, put the phone down, we're gonna read this map. So those are things that we want kids to know, because we want you just to have a sense of direction. If you are ever lost and you need something and you don't have service, you can always get a map. So those are things as well. And of course, a cabin photo. There are a lot of pictures that happen at camp, so if you ever come to camp, we will be taking your picture to document. And then these are some of our activity spaces. So all of our activity spaces really could not happen without support from people like you all and our donors and friends and longtime friends like Kathy here as well. So we have this 45-foot climbing tower. It's called the Tango Tower. It's 15 feet in the ground, so sometimes I say 55 feet. But there's like 6 different ways you can get up. There's all these different apparatuses for kids to climb. There's a zip line. There's that rock wall that you see there. And then on the left, you see one of our campers looking at a microscope. We have a indoor STEM lab. So we like to trick the kids into also knowing that you're learning, but you don't know you're learning because it's fun, right? So they can go out on the property and safely not take like an animal, but safely look at different types of nature and bring it back into the STEM lab and see what is it doing? How does this fit in? We have our lake, and so they do a lot of water testing. That's like, why does this water look this way? How do we filter this? And those are fun things that they can do. We also have, I don't know if you can see in that bottom left picture, we have a library. I know, summer camp with the library. But our purpose of our library, we have over 5,000 titles in there. And all the books come from like kid wish lists of what they want to read. And so we do have a literacy component to one of our 3rd grade programs. And so part of that, we know that we want our books to go out with the kids on the river. We want them to go out with them on overnight trips. And we expect them not to come back. And so we really do believe that kids will find a love for reading. Number one, if there's a book in there that they want to read. Is it a graphic novel? Is it like a comic book? And they can take that book and read by the Tango Tower. They can take it and read by the lake. Or they can take it and read by the pool, just outside of the 4 walls of a classroom where they don't feel so confined. And so that is one of the fun things. The STEM lab and the library are also one of our very few air-conditioned spaces on campus. Very popular spaces to be. So free read comes up as an activity, and there's a lot of kids that want to do free read in the air conditioning, especially in July. But we welcome that. We want them to have a fun and safe space. Just some more of our facilities. There is the pool, our beautiful dining hall as well, and then we have wash houses in one of our villages, Shire, which is where our younger campers stay. There are bathrooms inside the cabin because they will need to go to the bathroom during the night, but our older campers have wash houses, and those are beautiful. So we also work with kids and work with our staff I'm just going to be honest, of like, how do we safely share in a wash house space? That is one of our most vulnerable places when we are in our birthday suits, just being honest. And so we want kids to feel comfortable and feel safe when they are in our care, and even when they are in the wash house as well. And so some of the things we do, we have like a pop-up tent that campers can use. Is this my time to camp?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is really unusual.
Oh, hope everything's okay. So these are just fun things, and that's a picture of one of the cabin. But again, we want to make sure that kids feel safe in all of the ways, mentally, physically, sexually, emotionally, all of those. Next slide, please. You want to talk just briefly?
Yeah, I mean, like we kind of have mentioned a few times, we know that the mental and emotional and social health is healthcare. It's, you know, we have a great nursing staff. It's very traditional as far as, you know, helping with clear-cut physical things going on, but we also are really trying to focus intentionally on making, you know, truly a space of belonging, and doing DE&I work from a lens that is making sure that we are taking care of basically not even just like our campers, but all of our staff, seasonal and year-round. Just making sure that we're kind of moving forward, and like I had mentioned before, and being kind of trauma informed and trying to do that through training. Also, it mentions down here in one of the bullet points, we are now starting to staff to have a wellness health specialist that's there during the summer, and hopefully that position will continue to expand, and also some youth advocates. So those are people that are, you know, on the ground at camp all summer, 24 hours a day, that can help with just, you know, all the nuanced things that come up, like with, as Alexis was mentioning, it's a very vulnerable space. It's such a fun, beautiful, magical, unique space, but it's also a space where you are sharing cabins with each other, and, you know, and have to work through a lot of different types of, like it was saying, behavioral intelligences, and not just trying to understand where other people are coming from, and learning to be responsive versus reactive, which is a lifelong skill.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're really trying to bulk up, basically, our mesh support at camp.
Well, we can go quick, but look at our cute camp dogs.
Oh, the cute doggies, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we have cute camp dogs, and we always talk about sharing the wilderness and sharing the space, not just with our camp dogs, but with the creatures and critters that were there before us on this land as well too. So there's a big component of, you're not just gonna step on this spider because you don't like the spider. You are going to either daddy long legs, pick it up and just move it, or go around the snake, go the other way. So that is a huge piece, because everyone has everything and everyone has a place, and again, they were also here before us, and we are sharing.
Yeah, and I think also, like, not all of our kids, but when they first start, a lot of campers, when they first start coming, they're not used to necessarily, sparing the bugs. What you see, it's more has been like you kill something that, you know, that might be potentially a threat, because you don't know. And so that's where the whole thing is. We hope that camp becomes a space where, as they learn more, they can also bring that back and share that information with their families or something. You know, it hopefully will become kind of a continuous learning circle. So
so like Jill had mentioned earlier, check in if you are here, but definitely follow Sherwood Forest on social media. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and I think we're gonna have a TikTok. I am seasoned, so I don't really know how TikTok works, but the young campers are gonna show us how to do it, and we will be on, seasoned, or like aged well, like a nice whiskey. You know, you all are aged well, like a nice whiskey in a barrel. Yes. So, definitely follow us. Check out our Amazon wish list. Like I said, all of the things are used down to the penny, and then we have a Blue Jean Ball fundraiser, which is just what it is. You could come in a dress if you want, but you could also feel free to come in jeans, because we are camp folk. Come in your tennis shoes, come in your overalls. And then we have volunteer trades weekends, which are opportunities for people who have a trade that you can come and help. We have a list of projects. Like I said, we have 68 something buildings on our 500-acre property. So if you know someone that's a painter, that is an electrician, that is a roofer, that is a gardener, any of those trades really help us. And the food is always good during trade weekend. Ask Emily, ask Kathy. The food is good. There's usually a little libations as well. No campers there. But any of those things. And then bus stop volunteers, we call those bus ambassadors. So when the kids meet at their certain bus stops in St. Louis to ride down to camp, we always need adults. And it's really fun because you could, like, let's say Jill's a camper, like, hey Jill, how are you? Excited to come to camp? You're checking people off the list, you're meeting Jill's family, maybe siblings, getting Jill on the bus, and then you're riding the bus down with the campers, which is a very loud experience, but fun because they are testing those camp songs, and Jill would be singing too, and then you get to see camp, eat lunch.
Well, and I was gonna say also that there is a lower stakes commitment, though.
Yes.
You don't have to ride down there.
Yes.
We also just do need volunteers sometimes, just for a couple days in the summer. In the morning, we have 3 different bus stops, and especially since COVID, we are testing kids now at the bus before they hop on, and so it's become kind of production. But we figured it out, and it's great. But it's just again more hands. Make for lighter work and just like a smoother process. I just wanted to also mention that we didn't really say this also from the beginning, is like we really truly are a nonprofit. I've worked at nonprofits for, again, like along with different nonprofits, but we truly are a nonprofit, and so I feel like Sherwood is a very special, unique place. Our kids get to come to camp and stay overnights anywhere between, you know, the littlest ones for maybe a week all the way up to almost a month for the older kids. And I don't know if you guys are changing the price, but it will never cost a family more than $75 for that entire experience. And so it's a very special place. So I just wanted to mention, like, when we like are throwing up like help us, like anyone that can help us out, it's because we truly are a nonprofit. And we have great different funding streams with people and organizations and foundations and the government definitely support us, but we're always looking for people with certain specialties. So that's why I even talked to our director of facilities and asked them what projects they thought were definitely going to be on the docket for this April. So like Alexis mentioned, if you know anyone that has specific roofing experience or feels comfortable with repairs, siding, and window installation, that's what they're going to be working on. And as Alexis said, it's a really fun weekend, and you get to see camp. It's beautiful, usually in the spring, and they feed you well, like you said. And the last one I mentioned down here was, if anybody knows anyone in commercial real estate or anyone that can connect us, we are looking kind of long term to relocate our St. Louis office. We're currently in Maplewood, but we just have outgrown the space to be able to do programming and events there. And so we're kind of in this long, like, kind of 3 to 5 year trajectory to try to be looking for space. And we have a task force going and everything, but we're kind of at we've hit a good spot where we kind of need to start engaging with commercial real estate folks that know and can help us. And so if anyone has any one that you think would be interested in supporting us or helping us or worth a conversation, we always like to explore those conversations for sure. So.
Yeah. I will just go back to what Emily is saying is our families will pay no more than $75, and just so you know, like, really what our nonprofit does and what, like, friends and supporters like you, if it is a leadership camper and they're coming for 28 days, it costs our organization about $14,000 to cover that camper. And if they are a younger camper, like a mini camper, it costs about $11,000 to cover. And so when we really, like, we are deeply thankful for, like, the support in all of the ways, whether it's sharing your time or if it's sharing any type of finances or putting us in touch with someone. And we couldn't do any of the work for the campers in the community and our families and continue to reach them through post-secondary without the support as well. So yeah, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any questions, comments, concerns? You coming to camp, Jill?
Been there, done that. About how many kids do you serve in the summer?
So last summer we're in the endemic world, we had about 213, but prior to COVID, it was like tinkering at like closer to 3. We have really no intention to like boost numbers and like, well, some people, but really what we're learning from like trauma-informed care is like to make sure that we stay in a space where we can like safely serve all the kids. So like around 213, 200. But to do that, we need staffing, and then to do the staffing, we need support. So,
and there's about 50. I would say there's some. My numbers for supports for success kind of fluctuate according to how kids are doing. Like I might say you're doing good. Like, I might not hear from someone for 6 months when they're 22 because they're doing great, but they might check back in. But we're right around like 60 or 65 kids that are in supports for success right now.
And I don't want to speak for Emily, but I'm going to. In supports for success, it could be like someone reaching out to be like, can you help me fill out an application for like an apartment or for a job, or like I need help with like finding a therapist or mental health or whatever it could be. It could be any of those things that really, like we say, help them try to adult and navigate this world. And you had mentioned in the back, like how can we do this for adults? And that's really what we wanted to shift to, because Emily and I also grew up like many of you, like pushing 4-year colleges and universities, and these are the only jobs you can do, and that's just not really realistic. And we don't want people and our campers especially to feel like they have to go on these routes if that's not really what they want to do or their passion or anything like that. So that's really what Supports for Success is. And we didn't always have Supports for Success when I was growing up. Definitely not when Kathy was there either. I didn't mean to put an emphasis on definitely not Kathy, but
I mean,
it's
it just really
something.
2016 was really when the first cohort started. So it's a relatively new program, and we have all of our older alumni, like even anyone in their 20s, will be like, I wish that Supports for Success was around.
Yes.
We're able to also budget to give them like a laptop or $500 towards books and fees, if they, towards any type of post-secondary education. And so we try and, continue to give them carrots of incentives of like, keep doing the work and we will meet you there, and we got your back, as long as you're willing to put in the work, and we'll be beside you, basically. So
And currently you're on Sutton?
We are.
Okay.
We're right on Sutton, and so our front door like backs up to that Marietta lot.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm between a Blue Duck and Focal Point.
Yes. So you speak food. Yeah.
food and music,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to come down in April and help with some repairs.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do we, is
So
there a way to?
Lauren, I can write down Lauren's email
I
on
have
the back. I have my card, and I can connect you with
Okay.